Okay, welcome to another LinkedIn Labs. You know what we do here is we find things that people are doing in their roles with outbound sales, figure out what experiments they're running and how they're going about them, so that you can take them yourself and try out something starting next week. And today we have Joey, and he's going to introduce himself here in a minute. But as always, I'd like to understand, where are y'all tuning in from? Let us know you're tuning in from across the world. I know we have some people all across the world normally in here. And then the fun question of the day is, when if you had to take a vacation, Joey, I'm gonna ask this question too. If you had to take a vacation, would you prefer going to the beach, or would you prefer to be in the mountains? So Joey, what would you pick here?
Yeah, pretty straightforward for me. I'm in the mountains. If you know
Oh,
anything about
easy.
me, I'm up there with my skis in the winter and my bike in the summer. So put me up in Banff, put me up in the local mountains here in Utah.
Yeah.
I'm going there. Tahoe.
I feel like the beach. This is my take. Some people might be upset, but I think the beach is like slightly overrated.
I feel like, yeah, I would agree. I think you can find your beach-esque destinations in the mountains.
Yeah, that's also true.
Like,
That's a
go
good
to
point.
like a private lake up there. Like, there's a couple lakes up in the mountains here in Utah, or and find a cool house, Airbnb up there with a little like shoreline. Obviously, the water's freezing cold and you don't get the beach vibe, but you're up there with the water, stand up paddleboard in God's country, man.
Yeah, I feel like there's more. Jesse's against this. He's saying the beach. I just feel like there's. I get it. I understand the beach. I just think like the way I'm like processing it is that like the beach is like cool. Like, there's only so much you can do. I guess that's the way I put it. You
Yeah.
go on the beach, you walk in the sand, you play in the ocean. You're out there to get a tan. I don't need a tan, so that's probably why. But then at that point, it's like it's over. Like, like I don't know. Maybe someone can convince me. That is, I like the beach. It's not that I don't like it. I just rather prefer to be in the mountains. I feel like there's so much to see. There's so much beauty in the woods and the mountains. There's a lot of reflection you can have. That's just my take. But everyone's against this, Joy. Everyone's saying the beach.
Everybody wants the beach with the lounge chair, the seagulls, the water.
They're against us.
Until you have 4 kids, and then you got to make sure they don't drown in the water.
Is that really it? Is that you? Because
My kids love the beach, but they also love hopping on their bikes with me and going on hikes and finding flowers and bugs and stuff. So I think you're right. There's more to do in the mountains, but there is something special about a beach. But you give me $5,000, I'm taking the fam to the mountains.
Okay, cool. Hopefully, everyone else is saying beach. If anybody else will chime in, definitely come in as well. But I think since we have most probably people here tuning in today, what we're talking about is intent and buyer signals. You probably have heard about this a lot, about how to be intentional when you're doing outbound, how to be intentional when you're reaching out. All those are obviously key components in what you want to do and what you want to find. So, Joey, if you would like to just introduce yourself, what are you doing today in your role? What's your experience? And what gets you excited about this topic today?
Yeah, so good to meet everybody. Thanks for having me on, Morgan. We've kind of been on and off for the last, 15, 20 years of our life. So
Yeah.
a little bit about me. Live here in Utah, Silicon Slopes, been in tech for almost 2 decades now. Spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to be proactive in the world of SaaS selling. So I started my career as kind of an enterprise type outbound AE with a sales tech to compete against outreach. And then now we're all the way to kind of back in the ed tech space. But most of my career has been either selling or building this outbound type of motion. I've been first line leader, second line leader. And this is, I feel like, the hardest job at any type of company. You see these senior leadership teams say, hey, we need to be more proactive. We need to outbound more. We need to go after the customers. And then they sit in the seat and you're like, it used to be dialing for dollars down a list. Then it changed into sequences and now it's turned into social. And now that's kind of not even working anymore. Yeah. So I find that I enjoy the chase and the hunt So yeah, right now I'm at a company called Learn Upon. We're in the LMS space, but we're really focused on kind of multi-tenant learning. So we've all been in the dreaded log into your LMS and do your annual security training. We've all done that in our careers, and that's horrible. But where I like to spend my time is, hey, what are you doing to educate your customers on the products you're selling? What are you doing to educate the memberships in your community, maybe your sports membership or a local nonprofit? And then, like, what are you doing to really educate the people that you work with, so that they can grow instead of check a box? So, and I'm building all of the enterprise teams and the outbound motion here.
Perfect. And so let's get into it. And everybody tuning in, if you have questions for Joey, drop them in the chat because we're going to make this highly interactive here. But first question for you is, how do you look at a buyer signal and intent, and how are you telling your team to look at it as well?
Yeah, I think there's two avenues or two roads to go down. Road number one, if you have a product that has high usage or some side of freemium option, you look at a lot of the product usage for the free users, and there's a ton of tools out there I've used in the past. So like, if I'm clicking this button or I download this or I hit this paywall or I'm this role and I'm using your product, that I think is a whole other conversation. But what I think makes me excited is just this whole concept of like, how, if I'm a buyer, what am I looking at to improve my overall kind of goal in my role? So each buyer's going to have a different type of things that they're paying attention to and commenting on and looking at and downloading. Like, you can go down the route of working with your marketing team and say, like, did I click this on your website? And did I download this white paper? And I think if you think about it, a senior leader that's buying something isn't most likely clicking on people's websites. They're probably in the sphere of searching, how do I do X, Y, and Z? Or they're commenting on people that are industry experts in the field you're selling to. And so I think I have like 6 kind of signals that I look at. And this isn't rocket science by any means. So you've probably heard a lot. It's like, we all know the classic job change signal. I still think it's one of the best. If you have a person that's been a user or an advocate of your product, whether they use it or they follow your company and they have a job change, like, first off, people want to be congratulated and they want to feel like they made a good choice. So like, that's the easiest. Hey, Morgan, congrats, man. You started this new company, or you went to this new job. Let's talk about it. Let's grab some drinks over Zoom. I want to hear all about it. People love talking about themselves. So like, that's a good, compelling reason to get someone to talk about themselves. So I think you've led a couple of webinars on how to set that up in Sales Nav so you can have a ton of automations. But I love the job change role. I also love the job change role within the same company that they're at.
Okay.
So not necessarily moving companies, but you got promoted, you moved around, you changed your title, whatever, you got an award. Make sure you're saving your accounts in Sales Nav and you're following the people, and then you're spending time looking at that. So job change and role changes. I also look at life events, which is kind of silly to some people, but like, did you have a baby? Did you get married? Did you have an anniversary? Like, did you go on a cool trip? Did you get a President's Club? Whatever they're telling the ethos of, like, look at my accomplishments. Like, there's a reason they're sharing that, and that's a compelling reason for you to connect. And so, make sure you're paying attention to what they're posting about on X, on LinkedIn, on, I don't know, I would be hesitant to like go to Instagram and Facebook, but like, yeah, those are all tools that are public, and if people are public, they want to be public. So use them to your advantage.
I want to double down on a couple things. So for people here in the chat, let us know what your favorite signal is. What is the buyer signals you look for? You said you had 6. I think you mentioned 2 there. I want to hear the other 4, but before we do that, I want to double down on what you already mentioned. So you talked about how there's the change jobs, and you mentioned that messaging. What are you recommending your team to send as messaging? Is it exactly what you said, like congrats, let's grab a coffee and talk about it? Are you telling them to say congrats and then you're pitching them? Are you saying never pitch? Like, what are you doing there?
Yeah, I believe in this philosophy of social engagement before social connection.
Okay.
And too many times we get the connect pitch and I just remove those connections. But if I see Morgan commenting or engaging with me, usually for like 2 to 3 weeks, asking me probing questions like, why'd you post this? Hey, I read this. I had one question about it. Or, hey, you follow this guy. Like, I know that guy offering something. Like social engagement before you ask for a connection, which in turn could be a meeting, could be a pitch, could be, you got to bring something to the table and engage, make them feel like you're really into them instead of just wanting them to buy your product. So,
So,
yeah,
yep, go ahead. Go ahead.
your second part of the question is like, what am I coaching the guys and gals to say?
Yep.
Um, I'm a big fan of probing questions within their comment section. So let's say, Morgan, you drop like, hey guys, here's a thing I wrote, whether it's you or ChatGPT. I want to spend some time reading through it and find one question that I can ask you in the comments. Tag
Yep.
you, hopefully you answer, or answer someone else's question that's in the comments. So that's another one of my 6 is I call it comment trolling in the world that you're selling to. It's like spend some time, open up the comments, either ask you a question or answer someone else's question, or even ask someone else random that commented on Morgan's post that's something relative. Because everyone's LinkedIn's on their phone. You'll start to see like, oh, Matthew or Jesse keeps coming up on my feed. Like, who is this guy? And then
Yeah.
I'll get an email from him like, hey man, love your content. So social engagement before connection. First one's like comment trolling. Second is offering something up to that person. So that's another thing I tell the guys to do. It's inside of kind of the social engagement. It's like, okay, what can I provide to you that would be of value? And it doesn't have to be anything with our jobs. It's like,
Yeah.
hey man, I saw that you're way into disc golf. Like, here's a quick video that I saw these pro disc golfers. Thought you might want to watch it. Or like, I had a guy the other day on my team. He's a big bow hunter, and he found out one of his prospects is a big bow hunter. So he bought this book by this guy named Cameron Haynes, who's like the world's biggest bow hunter. He just like, hey man, I just read this book about being undeniable by Cam Haynes. You probably know who he is. I just sent it to you. Looking for it's coming to your office. I know you're into hunting. Never responded until like 3 weeks later. He's like, hey man, I got your book. Like, this is awesome. Let's chat. And it turned into a pretty healthy conversation moving forward, and happened to be an open deal in our pipeline for next quarter. So like, some fun stuff.
So, finding relevant things to send people, finding ways to engage without pitching. Now, what if you can't? I guess the question becomes, before we get to the other ones, what if you don't find anything on the person? There is no real signal. There isn't anything like where you found out they do fishing or they bow hunting or whatever. How do you show up in that nature at that point?
This is where I think it gets really hard, and I don't have a silver bullet to this, but first off, like, if someone's not engaged socially on any type of platform, LinkedIn or X, like, they're probably not gonna have a conversation with a stranger. So you
Yeah.
got to find a way to get somebody that knows them to connect you, or like do the bottom ups approach. So this is another kind of signal based, is that bottom up selling, and it requires a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, but if you're selling a product that the senior leadership team typically buys top down, you can do a lot of homework and a lot of prep. So Morgan, if you have a team of 15 people, and I can find out who those people are, the people below you are more likely to have a conversation, and you can go after them and say, hey, we have this product, Morgan. I know you're not the buyer, but I would love to get your input because you'd probably be someone that uses it every day.
Mhm.
And then I'll I'll compensate you for your time. So you hop on the phone with those people and you start asking them like, hey, this is what we're building. What do you think? Like, would you use this? If like your boss bought this for you and made you use it, like, would that have some impact? And you start to compile all these stories. And this is where when someone that you don't isn't posting social or you can't find anything, you compile the story and you send it to them, whether it's an email or an in-mail or even a quick video. Find a way to record a video, send it to them in the mail with like a little flip book or even a text message. Like, hey, Morgan, I spent 15 meetings over the last month with your team to figure out if this is something that they would believe to have impact.
Yep.
I found 5 things that they believed and 1 thing that they would really want from you. I want to run that past you. Now it's a way different story. Like, you spent time with my guys. Like, who is this guy? And then the first thing he's going to do is like, hey, Matthew, did Joey talk to you? What did he talk to you about? And if it was a good experience, it would lead into, yeah, you should go talk to him. So bottom ups, that's one way. But another way is like, can we provide a data-driven report to say, here's where you are before you engage with me, and here's where I believe you can be after, based off of whatever kind of hard data. So you look at like the popular softwares out there. Like, let's just take like a Gong, right? If someone's shopping Gong, maybe you do some due diligence to try to put together, hey, I spent some time with your guys. They have 10 meetings a week. None of it's recorded or transcribed. There's not a lot of coaching. If you were to take 2 of those 10 calls and do some coaching and turn it into, conversion to the next step, then do some math and then spread that out. Now you have like a data-driven, hey, Morgan, I spent time with your guys.
Yep.
Some data that I gathered, before and after analysis, maybe send them a screenshot. But yeah, just try to provide value without them having to do any work.
Yeah, I think that's Kyle Coleman made a post on this thing he called it "Walk the Halls" or something like that. And so basically, like, I think a lot of people are like, well, that is more work. That takes a lot of time. And it's like, maybe, but I think at the same time, it's like, this is just the world we're in, where yes, you want to book the meeting, but it's about how do we start the conversations. Can I just get a conversation with somebody in the org, just somebody, right? And just be, hey, here's what I'm doing, and it leads to an intro. Like when I was working at JV Sales or with John, I literally got into Glassdoor because I reached out to one of the reps.
Yeah.
Because this is actually really funny. So the Glassdoor review, their Glassdoor review of Glassdoor was they did not have any SDR training. So then I ended up finding the person that left that review and then messaged them being like, hey, is this true? And they were like, yeah. And so ended up working with them to get introduced to other people and ended up actually going and training Glassdoor because of that. And it started because I was finding whatever signal was out there, reached out to that person. I talked to multiple reps, ended up getting to the director, like the whole entire thing. And like, I don't think that deal would have ever happened if I never did that. So I think a lot of people need to take time in that. Everybody listening in, I'm curious for you all. Put a 1 in the chat if you do the bottom-up approach. Put 2 if you're like, I know I now need to do it, because I think it's one of those approaches that people are like, it takes time, but it will be worth it if it depends on the accounts you're going after, obviously. But it will be worth it at the end of the day just to get in the conversation. And I think a lot more people need to think, how do I start a conversation rather than I immediately need to book a meeting? That's just my take on it.
Yeah, Jesse here in the comments says, give. Like, overwhelmingly, people will be more receptive if you spend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 touches of giving them something without asking for anything. So I love that comment. It's hard. What can I give them? I don't know. There's a lot out there to figure out, but be creative. I always think, like, if someone was pitching me, what would I like? And just start there. But yeah, you're right, Morgan. Talk to somebody.
Yeah. Somebody in the org. That's the thing. Just get a conversation going, see where it goes from there. Even if it's a different department, like someone knows someone in the org just to help you. So that's how I always think about, like, how can I get in this org? I really try to focus on how do I start a conversation with somebody and to get things rolling from there. So I think that's really good advice. Y'all can take that. I want to move on to the other four. So what are the other four signals, Jesse? What do you have for us?
Yeah. So depending on what you're selling, it's looking at mentions or posts or engagement of your kind of sphere of selling ecosystem. So I'll just give you an example where I sit in the LMS space. People are trying to figure out how do I certify my folks? How do I connect it to, the HRIS systems of the world? How do I automate, learning journeys? There's probably like 25 keywords that we look at. And if you don't know what your keywords are, just Slack your head of marketing and be like, hey, what are the keywords you're putting into Google right now?
Yep.
Keep those, create a little filter in Sales Nav. It's like anyone is searching or posting with these keywords. And then just spend 20 minutes there. Instead of scrolling on your personal Instagram, like scroll on that Sales Nav filter feed. And then you start to see like, okay, Morgan, he's head of L&D. He's been posting about, his HRIS system's horrible because it doesn't connect. Anyone have ideas?
Yep.
There's also a ton of like user groups or groups inside of LinkedIn. So I think zooming out, what this one is all about is finding intent keywords to pay attention to and who's engaging in that, and create a filter. And then you can use any tool that you have. I feel like avoiding the classic sequence and just bombarding them, going back to the original, is like once you find out who's engaging in that type of work, spend some time in the comments and engage before you connect.
Yeah, I think the whole cornerstone here is engaging. And for everyone in the chat, chime in if you have questions here. But I think the main thing is like, how do I engage and find something interesting, thoughtful? I do like the way that you are breaking that down and finding the keywords. I think you could even take that crazy, right? And speaking of AI, you could even throw that to AI and be like, what are some other keywords that I can also use off of this and then continuously build? I think that's a really good example and good thought process is using and leveraging those keywords. And a lot of people don't use the keywords. Speaking of Sales Nav, they don't use them that often. There's a ton of value in there for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like we're selling, and I'm not a marketer, but like I get how marketing works.
Yeah.
But like, just spend a minute with your marketing team on a one-on-one. Be like, hey, VP of marketing, like, can you tell me how you guys are getting people to our website? And then figure out what's working from there, and then replicate that in Sales Nav and go after those people. So not a lot of people do that.
What do you think the reason that people aren't doing that as a buying signal?
I can only speak to the orgs that I've worked with, but I think a lot of it is it's hard. Like Darren asks, how do you do that? It's hard, easier said than done.
Yeah, just go out and do it, Darren. You're good.
It's hard. Morgan, if you had Morgan come to your company, he could probably give you a LinkedIn kind of lab workshop for all the reps on how to do it all. But you open up Sales Nav and you can create a search filter, and in the sidebar, there's a room for keywords, and you just kind of type in a bunch with commas separated in between. It's a little bit of the how, Darren, and then you click save, and then you have a feed with people looking at that. Why people don't do it? Like, it's hard. It takes time. It's not necessarily the buyer that you're going after. It could be a user. So that's like, I don't want to waste my time with this person because I know they're not going to buy. But like at the end of the day, you can split your time with. Everyone says like, oh, I'm researching my accounts. Like, are you really? Like this is something you can do and prove. Like, this is research. And in my team, I award research. We kind of have a little point system in my team, and you get a point for research, whatever you believe that is. And I think that's part of a good rep. You just got to make sure it's spent wise. I'm just trying, like, why people don't do this. I don't know. I think a lot of times the leaders don't know to guide the reps to do that. Like
Yeah.
we have so many things coming at us, and like the last thing I'm going to do is, oh, I have to go do that in addition to what else I'm doing. But if you have a leader that believes in like, hey, spend an hour today, Darren, finding 5 people that have searched for LMS content online. I want you to tell me about it. Like, unless you have someone that's really coaching you to do it, you probably won't. So I think that's a big miss is a lot of us leaders don't coach to it, and which means no one's gonna do it.
Yeah. I think the big thing is as well, and Darren, hopefully that answered the question. We can get deeper if you need us to. I think it's like we have 6 here. I always tell people 5. Like, what are the 5 buying signals? Like, if you see them, it's easier for you to get a meeting. And everybody has those to a degree, but I would just figure out what that is and then leaning more on that because that will help you navigate who you need to reach out to and how you need to respond and how you need to show up. So I would recommend doing that for sure.
And if you have like a demand gen team, if your company's big enough to have someone sit them down and be like, what's our buyer intent signals for you to pass it to us? And they'll lay it out. They've already done that homework. Or even like I asked my CEO, who's been when I first started, I was like, why do people even buy this? And he laid out a bunch of stuff. And I was like, oh, great. I'll pay attention to those.
Yeah. Darren, when you search, you just get people with the keyword and their job title. Must be doing it wrong. When you do a sales nav search, if you search on the top with the keywords encompasses everything in their profile, their experience, etc. And then if you do the job filter job title, it's everything in that job title as well. Just for context. We have a question here. Are you looking at the top percentage of people looking at the keywords or picking randomly, just thinking which one is more productive? That's a good question.
In the world of productivity, the ideal would be like have a smart AI helping you sort through the noise.
Yep.
But I would say the majority of people out there selling SaaS are not even doing this at all. So like just start. I have my guys every Monday find 5 accounts and 5 people within each account. That gives them 25 people to go after every week. We just call it 5 by 5. Been doing it for like 10 years. And just start. You'll start to learn the trends. If you have a more sophisticated company that can throw like, hey, here's a pile of data. We're going to have our AI look at like top signals and we're going to sort that. Like, great. Most people don't have that, but I would argue just pick 5 at random to start and see where they go. You'll learn real quick if it's somebody you want to go after or somebody you don't.
Let us know if that helped answer the question for both of you, Darren and Nafisa. I believe that's how you say that in your name. Let us know if that answered the question. Again, if it did not, just let us know and we can dive deeper. But I think that's the thing is like the processes that we're talking about, finding these signals, etc. Those are going to be important. Now you're saying let's talk about the 5 by 5. I've heard of this earlier in my career when I was an SDR, but for someone who doesn't understand that, why 5 by 5? What's the importance of that? And what is your team seeing as results by doing this strategy?
Yeah, here's where I think kind of piggybacking your question of like, why are people not doing this? We have so much coming at us all the time. It's like, where do I spend my time as a rep? If you could answer that question with definity, you would be like #1 sales leader in the world.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing ever. Like, where do I spend my time? So I'm a big fan of just do something. And so the 5 by 5, I think is a good, whereas like, yeah, I can find 5 accounts. Oh yeah, 25 people that I can go after on a week. That's like, I don't know, 45 minutes a day. Like everyone's got 45 minutes as a seller, unless you're like the founding AE and you're the only person out there. But I would argue that people that have joined this call are probably not that. So the success we're seeing, one, we're seeing just activity levels increase. And I'm a big believer of what you're doing today affects your pipeline 90 days from now. So let me give you a quick example. I had one rep, 145%. Our quarter ended yesterday, killed it. Last quarter, he had the most activity for outbound. Obviously,
No
there's some
shot.
correlation. 5x5 pretty religiously. You have the opposite last quarter. My guy that was number one was closing a bunch of deals, and then this quarter had a rough go. And I think that's the kind of the nature of enterprise sales. But 5x5 just gives you a framework to do something on a Monday, and then have a whole week. So I think the success we're seeing is on and off, but like at least gives the reps an idea of like, hey, this is the expectation to earn your base salary. Like, let's just go and get it. And then we try to have fun with it. We post funny stories of people that hang up on us. We post funny stories of people that send us, FU emails. Like everyone gets that. So
especially on cold calls, people are so hostile.
Yeah, I know.
People get so mad at you. It's crazy. But no, I think that's all extremely valid. I don't know, Joe, if you want to finish your point or you're looking at these questions that you were trying to answer here.
Yeah, Hermano, I'm guessing that's how you say it, but he's asking. He looks like he offers engineers. I'm probably going after the buyer of that first, but I think HR is a good angle into the buyer, and let me tell you why. HR has to either staff or be responsible for connecting the third party to your systems at the very front of it. So leverage them. Be like, hey, your tech team, I saw you have a ton of open recs for. So that's another buyer signal. Is like, are people hiring? Like, are you spending time to understand your accounts and who they're hiring with? I saw your tech team has 12 open positions. I know you're probably trying to fill those. In the meantime, like we have a pretty good crew of third-party engineers that we can throw in and take two of those headcounts away for the same price. Like, would you be willing to chat about that to see if it's a possibility? HR is probably not going to buy your services because they're going to, let's see what the tech guys say. But now you have an angle in, so
right,
get there.
Yeah, Darren, that's essentially the case. You can run. It's like a dual combo search. You run keywords and you also run job title at the same time. So that's like the example there. And then Jesse said, good reminder on the importance of daily calendar blocking for prospecting. Most reps fail to do this. As a result, prospecting falls in the cracks. This is my whole thing on. This is the best way to think about prospecting. Is like it's just like going to the gym. Like inherently, nobody in the beginning likes going to the gym. I don't think anyone's excited about it. If they are, they're lying to you. But over time, they get excited about it, right? Over time, they get stronger and they find that they really actually enjoy and appreciate the gym. And so you then get gravitated towards it more, where you want to go to the gym more and more and more because you started this process. And I think it's the same thing with prospecting. It's why I don't do as many obviously outbound touches as I did with like, you know, as I was an SDR. Like I'm not doing like 200, 180 calls a day like I used to do that. I do very, very quality touch points as I build my own business through AIM Social. But what I've also realized is that like if I decide not to do it, the muscle won't be there. So I'm doing, the 5x5s or like videos. I'm just always testing different stuff to see what works and what doesn't. But I think understanding that muscle is important because like if one point like you don't have opportunities and you're not talking to anybody, that's where trouble begins.
Yeah, if you've never listened, actually, I was reading. Yeah, Jesse's comment. If you never listened to Andrew Huberman, he talks all about like consistency over intensity. So this whole comment of like, there's power in consistency, and if you look at any like the best in the world at what they do, it's just them being consistent every single day. So find a way to do it, and if you don't know what to do, 5x5 Mondays.
And the thing is that like this is something I have to tell myself is that when you start doing the consistency stuff, it actually becomes really boring because you're doing the same thing. So you're gonna start being like, oh man, I'm bored. I want to switch it up. I'm telling you, do not do that. I've done that quite a few times, and I've ruined my own momentum on things because I got bored per se, but they were working really well. because I figured it out and now I'm like, okay, I'm good. And like, do not do that. Like, stick to what works. If you're like, cool, this works, great. Like, I found a couple things that's working for me, and I'm like, cool, I gotta continuously do this because it's working, right? Don't stray away from that. But Joe, we have a couple questions that are coming in here. So it's this is okay. So I want to understand what this question means here. How would you approach this for someone whose service is LinkedIn personal branding and content creation? Approach what? So approach the signals, approach like the outbound, like which part are you speaking to here? We want to make sure we answer the question. So I'm just trying to figure out how would you approach this? What is this? And I want to understand what that means. And then once we figure that out, this one you just mentioned it with the 5x5 framework. Are you layering in cold calling to those prospects as well?
Okay, Corey, great question. There's 3 ingredients to this that I look at as like the 5x5 answers who I'm going after.
Yep.
And that's it. The how and what I'm saying to him is the next steps. So like, how am I going to go after him? This is kind of what you're asking. Like, there are a million ways to go after these people, and a lot of, Morgan has a lot of good frameworks, but like, hey, spend some time figuring out how would I want to go after that. All the research shows, throw them in a sequence and you got 15 touches into. I'm like, I don't know if I believe that much anymore. But like, social engagement before social connection. How can I engage with this 5x5 individual before I connect with them? And the other one topic we talked about is if you can't engage with them and you can't find anything, personal about them, how can you provide some data to them that would be compelling for them to have a conversation with you?
Yeah.
This is where, Corey, sit down with your marketing guy or gal and say, how do you get people to come to our website? Like, and then kind of piggyback off of what they're building.
So we got the follow-up context to this question, which is how would you approach this for someone whose service is LinkedIn personal branding and content creation? And the approach is what they're talking about here is the signals and outbound. So how would you do that?
Okay. First off, like, who's searching for that service? Like, find same concept, put that in the keyword search. Hey, I need help with my LinkedIn. Or they're engaging with other LinkedIn professionals that are like redesigning LinkedIn pages. Like, who's following, commented on that. Also, just go to ChatGPT and be like, hey, if I wanted to fix my LinkedIn, like, how would I do that? And that'll give you kind of a good list of like, these are the things that people are going to want to find out. Put those in your keywords, find those. Or what I would do is I would go and find the worst LinkedIn pages, and I would start reaching out to those guys. Be like, dude, your LinkedIn sucks. Here's what I can do to help you. And if you're small enough, maybe do 1 or 2 of those for free. I'm just like, hey, let me redesign your LinkedIn, show you before and after. Or, hey, Morgan, here's your LinkedIn right now. Here's what it could look like. And based off of what for other people, we've seen X amount of engagement, more followers. Like, honestly, I don't know what people. That's not right. If you're optimizing LinkedIn for people to find jobs, that's one thing. Or if you're optimizing someone's LinkedIn so that they can get more connections, that's another thing. Like, what's the outcome of an optimized LinkedIn page? And then tie that to a before and after analysis. And then go after and just DM them. I've had a couple people reach out and be like, hey, here's your LinkedIn. Here's what it could look like. You want to have a chat? And I always have chats with them.
Awesome comment by Justin here. I'm going to highlight it. Go to market joins, CSM calls maybe once or twice a week. You'll hear from customers what's top of mind right now, in the future, and have a cabinet of stories you can use in conversations. Yeah, Justin, not enough people are doing this at all. Like, I would say the number one mistake that I made as an SDR in the first 6 months is not just literally being best friends with everybody in CSMs. I wish I would have spent way more time studying all the customer case studies and all the things that they were saying rather than spending time learning how to cold call. And I know that sounds crazy, but like if I just knew what I was talking about, right, then like I would probably not need the skills, right, of cold calling. I would just be able to talk to them, right? And over time, I would learn the skills. So I would highly encourage anyone that if you're not doing this already, and everyone here, for the most part, the reason that you're here is you're trying to book more meetings or close more deals or generate more, relationships. That's why you're here on this call today. Like, I would highly encourage, if you are on a team, to get customers. And then for those of you who maybe are on your own or have a small business like myself, you just need to create that environment and do like roundtables. So that's what I have done in the past, and I'm going to actually start doing them again with a different approach. Is like just getting these roundtables, virtual roundtables. Not like 4 or 5 people. Hey guys, we're going to talk about this topic. I'm just here to learn and go from there. That will help you and accelerate your growth and the people you interact with. So that's just another thing I wanted to call out, and I found that to be incredibly helpful. So shout out to Justin for that. And then for attracting leads as entrepreneurs, like I think there's 2 things that I would recommend here. So one is like the big people in the space that sell personal LinkedIn personal branding and also content creation. And I would highly encourage you to figure out like what makes you different than like the thousands of other people that this is their service right now. Like this has probably become one of the bigger, I'd say, spikes of services has been LinkedIn personal branding and content creation. Like most people do that on LinkedIn, right? So I don't know, but you have to figure out what is the unique thing about you getting leads than all the other people that get leads. And what is the unique differentiator you have? Like that's like first and foremost before you even go into like the signals and stuff, because you have to know like why are you different than like everyone else? Like why couldn't I go with someone else? And then I think the first step once you do that then is how do I find people that are big on the platform? And to Joey's point, how do I go in the comments and see what people are saying in the comments and replying to those comments? What most people don't realize, especially with a service like yours, is you probably go to the big post and then you leave a comment to get visibility versus like just getting in people's comments and just answering the questions that the big people cannot answer because they don't have time. So you could be the person that literally goes through and answers every single person's comment with thoughtfulness and attention because you have the time. And the second thing is, for sure, I would do what Joey just said. I would go find profiles that are not as active or finding profiles that are not consistent. So they're posting, but they're not consistently posting. So it's like there's probably a problem there on why they're not consistently posting because they're probably not generating leads and they're not having a good time, and you can help them. So there are a lot of signals for that offer. It's just figuring out what your 5, 6 are and going from there. That's my advice on that.
I think I'd want to make one comment, Morgan, going back to Justin's comment. I think this ties in. If Morgan were to call me today and say, Joe, I want you to come work with me, first thing I would do, and this is what you should be doing in your job on the regular, is going to the person that sold a deal or deals with the customers and say, Morgan, give me your top 5 customers. I'm going to call them and say, why did they buy your services?
Yeah.
Now I know exactly why they bought them because I'm talking to some ex-customers. So like spend some time with people that have bought these services and ask them just why. Even if it's your competitor or they're posting like, hey, I did this and this is, I'm proud of this. Call them and be like, hey, tell me why you bought that service and invested any time or money into that. And how did that impact you? Now you have one story. Do that 10 times. Talk to 10 CSMs, talk to 10 customers. Why do people buy their products? Now you have an arsenal of kind of stories to go after. Hey, oh, yeah, you're talking to someone. Oh, yeah, Morgan over here. You might not be able to drop their names for NDA purposes, but like, yeah, no, a customer that bought this for this very similar reason. And this is really why they've been with us for 3 years. Or, yeah, that's a big problem in our industry. This person over there is super, trying to find that right now. Like, maybe I can connect you guys and you can figure it out together.
Yeah. That's it. That's it right there. So we're wrapping up. We're here on time. And if you have any lasting questions, drop them in the chat. We'll quick fire though, not like some Einstein question, like a quick fire question, so we can quickly answer it as we wrap up here with Joey. And appreciate him taking the time to share what his team's doing and what he's seeing. The last question I have for you, Joey, and also you can shout out whatever you want to shout out as you wrap up this answer, is we talked about a lot of signals. What do you feel like is the most underrated signal that you are either experimenting with right now or you're doing right now at your team that you're like, well, I really don't know why more people aren't doing this?
You kind of gave a secret. I love when people publicly complain. And there's a lot of places to go find public complaints. So like if I'm selling to small businesses, go to their Google list, figure out like why people are complaining about them. Like, hey, Morgan, you have a small business, you're selling tires. Like there's like 4 bad reviews. Like people are, and hopefully you can tie that complaint to a value prop that you have available. Or if you're selling to B2B SaaS, go to G2 or Glassdoor and figure out complaints. Right. Nobody wants to have negativity about their brand, about their leaders. It's the problem. I think is hard to find this at scale. But if I'm going after 5 companies and I go to 5 Glassdoors, 5 G2 reviews, and I'm kind of scrolling down, select the 1 stars and spend some time like, oh man, this employee's pissed, or this customer's really mad, or there's a lot of forums you can go to, but like, who's complaining, and can you use those complaints as ammunition? Like,
yep, I like that. Tons of places you can go do that. I mean, and even like if you go into ChatGPT, you can do a deep research and you can say, what are the top complaints about X, Y, and Z? It will literally scrape the entire internet and give you all the complaints and the sources. So like you can do this literally right now, right after this entire live stream, and it's accessible. Back in the day, you had to really go like dig, and now you don't have to do it as much. So last question here. What are some qualities of your top performers, Joey?
Oh man, curiosity about everything. They want to know everything about everything and every role. So my top performer, he's constantly like asking product, like, why are we building this? What do you think this is going to bring to our customers? And he's talking to CSMs like, why are they asking you these questions? Like, what are your top questions you're seeing? And then they're coming to me and even like, hey, what is the CRO asking you that we need to do better? Like constant curiosity, I think, is a value that I think super underrated. We already hit on one of them, like consistency in everything. On the boring stuff, you look at like any athlete you want to look at, Kobe Bryant, he's in the gym first shooting the basic shots, and that's one reason why he was one of the best. Like consistency and follow up on emails. Are you have a meeting, are you following up within the next 60 minutes with, this is what I heard, these are the vision you shared, here's the next steps? Like just small one-on-one sales stuff and consistency. Curiosity and consistency kills it.
Aaron, I don't think you're trolling me with this question. I literally having a headache reading it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what you just asked me. I feel like I'm back in algebra and I don't even know what's going on. That's how I feel. Unless you can here, I'll give you this. This is what I'm gonna tell you to do. I'm gonna put this up. This is a download to the Sales Nav kit that will answer your question. It's in there in depth. It will answer it. Than me telling you, like you can go download the kit. It literally will tell you exactly what to do. So if you want to go do that and it's a serious question, like you can just download this kit. It will answer it for you. It talks about Boolean searches. It talks about the reasons why they work. It talks about how to go about it. So go ahead and just do that if you have a legitimate question. But Joey, any lasting things you want to say? Anything that you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Yeah, we've picked an interesting profession of selling services or software. Yep. And we sometimes forget that there are humans behind the buyers. Treat people with kindness, respect, love, laugh, and enjoy. I think if you find yourself in the rat race, grinding away and getting burnt out, I think it's because you're not having fun. So find reasons to have fun, find reasons for joy. And then I'm a big believer. I tell my team all the time. Take care of you first, because you cannot succeed unless you are at your best.
I agree 100%. Like there are so many more important things than running yourself to the ground. It's your health and the health you have with your family and your loved ones as well. So Joey, thanks so much for all the advice, the encouraging words, and things on nature. For everyone else, hope that you enjoyed this live stream. We'll be back again next time, next Friday. And also shout out to everyone else that loved the live stream and you got something out of it and it's helpful for you. So again, hopefully you'll have a blessed weekend. Shout out to Joey for taking his time, and we'll see y'all in the next one.
See y'all.